What is up, everybody? It is Ryan. We are back with another race recap. This race recap is going to be over the Natural State Criterium Series, which is a local series to the Northwest Arkansas area, Springdale to be specific. And this is going to be their B race. So it is a suggested category 3-4 race, and this is the first race in said series. They have, I believe, 2 more races for the remainder of 2023, and I highly recommend, if you're able to make either one of those, definitely start on your calendar. It is well worth the time and money to get out there. I understand it is a weeknight crit, so it can be a little bit harder, but it is definitely worth the time and money. Like, trust me, it is probably the best rain event that I've been to this year so far. Kind of with that said, getting into the race, I had texted with my 2 teammates, Dorian and Caleb, who you'll probably end up seeing in a bit. I said, hey, I want to try something new. I want to try to attack from the gun and just see what happens. We are kind of all just in a spot getting ready for Tulsa and just kind of experimenting. So they both gave me the all clear, and so that's what we get. That was the goal. Right before the race, Dorian came up to me and he said, hey, are you still feeling that? And I was like, yeah, let's give it a go. He said, okay, cool. I'll just kind of stick on the front and see what happens. And if you end up getting brought back, we'll try to 1-2 them. So that was the goal for the first probably half of this race, is get me off the front if at all possible, and then try to go 1-2 on them of some sorts. From the rip, I attack and I get a decent amount of separation, and no one ended up coming with me. So I did end up going solo for a decent amount of the first few laps until they ended up calling a preem. Once they called a preem, that was kind of the end of my solo effort. I was brought back pretty quickly after that, as everyone was motivated by the money. So I'm going to turn it over to the announcer real quick to give you an idea of the kind of gap I had.
It's like a leader's break, there's an early break, awesome, going way off the line.
So yeah, like you heard him say, I had a decent gap and was feeling good, so just kind of kept my head down and kind of tried to TT off the front as much as I can. And by no means am I a TT specialist or anything. I definitely think sprinting is my kind of forte when it comes to racing, but it's a time to try some new things. I wasn't too worried about a result at this race or anything, but I wanted to do well, but I also wanted to try some new things and see what would happen. Kind of getting into this course itself, it is more of a kind of elongated figure 8, not really too much elevation or anything. You do have this kind of little dip on the backside, and then the start-finish straight is slight downhill. Outside of that, I mean, it's pretty straightforward figure 8. There's barely any wind on the night. I think there was like 5 miles per hour out of the south-southeast or something like that, which made this part right here, I think, would have been a slight headwind section, if anything. But I'm not 100% sure. Like I said, there wasn't really much wind on the night. Kind of getting into the race stats for the night, though, we did end up doing 17.6 miles over just over 40 minutes. That gave us an average speed of 26.4 miles per hour. Unfortunately, I don't have power from this race. My power meter was at the shop getting fixed. I ended up getting it in the very next day and getting it back on the bike, so going forward I should have power on everything, but unfortunate, didn't have it tonight. But you'll see we're here coming in through that last chicane right before the start-finish straight, and here is when you'll hear the announcer say that I'm not going to be happy, they're calling a preem, and he was pretty right. I still had a decent gap going into these corners, but as soon as he called that, and knowing the gap I had, I kind of just sat up and let them catch back up. I wasn't going to try to continue to solo off the front at this point. Knew it wasn't going to stick. I mean, we're 2 laps into the race, and as you can see, I'm already getting past now. Hop on this guy's wheel. We had a small gap for a second, but with that preem called, everyone got motivated, so we got brought back pretty quick. And then you'll see I just kind of filter back and sit in, and I believe Dorian made his way to the front, as well as Caleb. So skipping forward to about the 21-minute mark, we're coming through that backside first part of like the, I guess, chicane you'd call it. And you'll notice up a few wheels, teammate Caleb raises his hand and pulls off, I guess his seat post had slipped. Talking with him after, I guess on lap 2, he had a slight puncture in his tire, but it ended up sealing, so he was still able to race on it. But a little bit of the sealant either got on the seat post or something, and it just became a little slippery, and I guess he has just a finicky seat post in general, that it just slipped out of place, and he wasn't willing to race on it after that, which understandable. But it was a bummer. Left it to just me and Dorian for the race. So skipping ahead, we're now at the 25, 26-ish minute mark, 13 laps in, coming into the start-finish straight, and the announcer is going to announce a 2-place cash premium on the next lap. And so I think at this point I had no intentions of going for it, but I didn't want anyone to try to attack and stick away, so kept on the gas, made sure to stay in the draft of everybody. And this guy right here to the front left of me, I noticed in the, I think, first 2 preems that he was pretty motivated to go for them. So I stuck to his wheel, kind of just wanted to see what he was going to do and followed it. And as you can see, he's putting down some watts. I don't know if it's anything too crazy, but I just kind of stuck to his wheel and let him kind of lead me out for what would be the preem, in hopes to try to grab a few extra bucks. Yeah, and so like that, we find ourselves 4th wheel going into the last few corners. I guess not last few, we still got, what, like 4, 5 corners. Sitting 4th wheel though, so pretty promising for a potential quick little payday. The 2 guys on the front are actually 2 guys I've raced with a decent amount. Guy on the yellow bike, Brian Bolton, super strong guy, super nice guy. Based out of, I think he's actually in the Northwest Arkansas area now, but was in the Tulsa area for a bit, racing with Kira. He's just motoring through, and so, like I said, that guy looked pretty motivated to go for a preem. He went up the right side, leaving the whole inside open, and so I take advantage of that and kind of open up the legs. Quick little test of the legs before the race. I really didn't get much of a warm-up in before this race, so was kind of racing into it. Noticed pretty quickly that there wasn't really anyone trying to come around, so just cruised through the start-finish to snag a preem. Okay, here we are at about 37 minutes into the race. We are 2 laps to go at this point, and I've just been moving myself up toward the front, slowly but surely, trying to be smart about it. Not trying to waste too much energy, anything like that, but trying to get back up toward Dorian to kind of help him out. He's been on the front a lot of this race, kind of just bringing stuff back, controlling things, stuff of that nature, just doing an amazing job with that. We hadn't really talked about any kind of late race situations in terms of, hey, once we get to the last few laps, I'll lead you out, or hey, will you lead me out, anything like that. So my goal was just to get up there and hopefully figure out something and kind of work together to see what we could do, see if we can't get a podium for the team. And you'll notice on this front straight, I'll see Brian there on the bright yellow bike. It looks like he's about to give it a dig, so I get on his wheel, and we are able to kind of shoot up the inside of this straight to go into this corner in the first few wheels. And then coming into the start-finish straight, it lines up just nearly perfectly where we were able to get on Brian's wheel, and I ended up just perfectly on Dorian's wheel. I let him know I'm there. He notices. And so now we're coming through with 1 to go. And honestly, this is probably a little bit farther up than we would want to be, but it's the cards we were given. So he motors on around. We go through the first straight, 1, 2. And you'll notice right here, he looks into the windows on the left side. He's making sure I'm there. He notices, so then he kind of gets into his more aero TT position-ish and just motors it and does a absolute bang-up job with a keeping the pace high so that way no one can come around the top, anything like that. yeah, like I said, he did an absolute bang-up job on a lead out, keeping it almost 30 miles per hour for the whole last lap. At this point, I send it into these little last chicane. I figured there's not much straight after the last turn there, so you want to be first wheel or second wheel into this part here. That way you have a chance to come around somebody if you were second, but fortunately I was able to come through first wheel, take it wide. Looks like somebody was coming up the left side, so I kind of get close to the barrier and just go toward the middle of the road and was able to seal the deal. So honestly, wouldn't have been able to get this win without Dorian. He had a phenomenal lead out, killer lead out. Can't say enough about him. He was amazing on the night. I think he ended up rolling in for 4th or 5th. And so yeah, it was, like I said, a awesome course. Highly recommend anybody who is able to make the trip to the Northwest Arkansas area on any Wednesday night they have it to do so. It's well worth your time and money. But yeah, thanks for watching.